Let's learn some B2 vocabulary to help you supercharge your fluency. And I say that because these are words that you will actually hear and use when you're in a conversation. And if you are someone who wants to develop your overall English fluency, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It is all about helping you reach your fluency goals. Now, let's begin with 5 essential B2 nouns. And the first one is, well, it's one that I really like, and I use it quite often, and that is nonsense. This refers to words, ideas, or behavior that is foolish, ridiculous, or just makes no sense. So often you can use this noun to dismiss something as, well, not logical, or it's just not true. And you can add emphasis to this noun with some great adjectives and say something is absolute nonsense, or it's utter nonsense, or pure nonsense. Now, keep in mind, this is a non-count noun, so you're not going to use it with an article and say a nonsense or add an S to the end. If somebody were to do that, I would just say that's nonsense. To give you an example, I could say, the new company policy is absolute nonsense. It's just going to create more paperwork for everyone. Nobody likes paperwork. And this is something I would say that is absolute nonsense.
We have the technology to build a portal into an alternative universe. Why, that's absolute nonsense.
Communications detailing your relationship with Nazi high command.
It's utter nonsense.
Then there's stopover. This is a short stay in a place in the middle of a long journey, usually between flights. And some common prepositions that you may follow this noun with is a stopover in this city or a stopover at some airport. So I could say, well, yeah, I had a stopover in Los Angeles, or I had a stopover at LAX, if I wanted to use the airport. Now in the US, which is where I'm from, you may hear people use the word layover instead. And really they are interchangeable, but a slight nuance is that when I think of a layover, I definitely think of a shorter break, maybe an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, whereas a stopover, it could be a shorter break, but also a much longer one. Maybe you even have to spend the night. To give you an example, I could say, I prefer a direct flight, which is true. I always prefer direct flights, but a stopover in Singapore can be quite refreshing if the airport is nice. I have never been to Singapore, so I don't know anything about the airport, but if it is nice, then yeah, I would not mind a stopover.
You want me to go to Paris?
Paris with a quick stopover in London.
I was on my way to the Harrisburg coat outlet to buy an irregular coat, but it required a stopover in New York City.
Tragedy. I'm trying to say it with more emotion because of the meaning. It refers to an event causing great pain, suffering, or distress. Think about a serious accident or crime. And there are some common collocations with this noun if somebody's talking about a personal tragedy or a great tragedy or even a national tragedy. Keep in mind that you're not going to use this with minor inconveniences. It's really when talking about events that cause true sadness or suffering if you're referring to a tragedy. I could say, it was a terrible tragedy when the museum burned down because so many wonderful works of art were lost forever.
It's a tragedy, a real tragedy.
Now, this goes beyond personal tragedy.
The governor was using a national tragedy to further his own agenda.
Now, if you want to keep building your vocabulary and improving your English skills, it does help to take classes, and you can do that on Skillshare, who is the sponsor of today's lesson. In case you don't know, Skillshare is a platform where you can take creative classes taught by professional graphic designers, accomplished educators, successful entrepreneurs, which makes it the best place to learn a creative skill or just pick up a new hobby. Not only can you take classes to build your vocabulary, improve your grammar, learn more about pronunciation, but on Skillshare you can take a wide range of classes on any topic that interests you. And of course, you can learn about these topics in English. Very recently, I took a class on goal setting called Stop Overwhelm, a creative's guide to goal setting with AI, Trello, and ChatGPT. And going through the classes and actually doing the project helped me map out the goals that I plan to accomplish this year, as well as understand how AI can help me streamline the process and just work more efficiently. This is something that I find fascinating and want to learn more about, but I would recommend that you explore classes that truly interest you, whether it be travel, design, cooking, because that way you will practice and develop your English skills as you learn about one of your passions. It's a win-win. You can even use English subtitles if you want. And right now, Skillshare has a special offer for you. The first 500 people to click on the link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So click on the link to get your free trial, take some classes, improve your English as you learn about one of your creative passions or about a topic that may help advance your career. Let's get back to our lesson, and the next noun is dose. This refers to a measured amount of medicine that is taken at one time. And figuratively, it can also refer to an experience, usually an unpleasant one. Quite often, this noun is going to be followed by the preposition of, a dose of something. And there are also some common collocations with this noun if referring to a small dose of something, or a heavy dose of something, or even the recommended dose. And there is a common phrase that you may come across from time to time, which is a dose of your own medicine. And this is more figurative, referring to you being treated in the same bad way that you treat others, and you get a dose of your own medicine. Now, for the most part, you're going to use this noun in a medical context. I could say, the instructions say to take 2 doses if the pain doesn't go away within an hour.
Your mother received a heavy dose of vaccine that wasn't meant for an adult.
We've got to get back at them for what they did. Yeah, give them a dose of their own medicine.
Then there's rehearsal. This refers to a practice or trial performance of a play or some other work, generally for a public performance that is going to occur later on. And there are some fixed phrases that are very useful with this noun. If somebody's talking about a dress rehearsal, then that's really referring to the final practice before the public performance. Or if you hear in rehearsal, it means at that moment, then people are currently practicing if a group is in rehearsal. The band sounded a bit disorganized during rehearsal, but the actual concert was flawless.
We're in rehearsals. It's a live-action musical tribute to the Dark Crystal.
Oh my God, Gavin?
We're supposed to be quiet during rehearsal.
I don't believe I've ever heard of a wedding dress rehearsal before.
Now I want to teach you some powerful B2 verbs, and I'm emphasizing powerful because I think they're incredibly useful. And the first verb is distinguish. This means to recognize the difference between 2 or more people or things. Now, often you're going to distinguish between A and B, or distinguish A from B. To give you an example, I could say, it's difficult to distinguish between the real brand and a knockoff. Or it's difficult to distinguish the real brand from a knockoff. They mean the same thing, but often you're going to distinguish between 2 things or distinguish one thing from another. To give you a little more context, here are some news headlines. Language models cannot reliably distinguish belief from knowledge and fact. 5 pointers to distinguish between chemistry and compatibility. And finally, Britain struggles to distinguish between protest and terrorism. Here are some more examples.
But I guess when one's young, it seems very easy to distinguish between right and wrong.
He can't distinguish bagels from donuts.
You're having a hard time distinguishing fantasy from reality.
Then there's the verb treat. This verb actually has 3 different meanings, and we're going to talk about all of them because they are all at a B2 level. And the first one really refers to behavior because it means to behave towards someone in a particular way. Now, I think that we should all treat each other with respect, and I'm sure that you agree. Now, to give you a phrase that has, well, certainly a negative connotation is to treat someone like dirt. And that would mean that, well, someone is being treated very badly.
Where I come from, guests are treated with respect.
His home situation sucks. His foster parents treat him like dirt.
It also has a medical meaning, which is to give medical care to a person or to give medical care for some disease. And quite often, you're going to use it with the preposition for, to treat someone for some disease. I could say the doctors treated the patient for a rare disease.
Regardless, you interns are the future of this hospital. If you don't treat patients, you won't learn.
It may also refer to something special, and in this case it means to buy or pay for something for someone else as a gift. And in this case, you're frequently going to use it with the preposition to treat someone to something. So I could tell you, you should treat yourself to another vocabulary lesson once this one is over, because I want you to learn more, I want you to develop your overall fluency, and it's always good to get a heavy dose of interactive English.
You're gonna buy it. You're gonna wear it out of the store, okay? You're gonna treat yourself.
Then there's exploit. This verb has two different meanings. It may mean to use something well in order to gain an advantage. And in this case, it's a little more positive or maybe neutral. Or it may mean to treat someone unfairly, and I'm using that verb again, to treat as far as behavior, to treat someone unfairly and make them work and really not pay them that much. And of course, in that case, it has a negative connotation. So it really depends on how you want to use it. I think often in business, it's a little more positive if a company is exploiting resources. For example, I could say the company is looking for new ways to exploit the potential of social media marketing. That's good, it's smart, it's efficient.
Primitive but effective.
It's just exploiting an abundant resource.
If we're talking about exploiting people, that is always bad, because we're talking about treating them badly. For example, I could say, critics argue that the fashion industry exploits low-paid workers in developing countries. So really, depending on which meaning you're going to use will depend on whether it's positive or negative.
Let you call and arrange a wet t-shirt contest. It exploits women.
I want her. She made a choice. You exploited her.
Next is the verb wander. This means to move slowly around a place without a specific purpose. And often you may follow it with a couple of different prepositions. You may wander around a place or even wander through some place like a park or a city. Don't confuse this with the verb wonder. They have completely different meanings, even though the pronunciation may sound a little similar, but you wonder something, then you're thinking about it. Wander, it has an A, so think A for action. You are moving around without a particular purpose. Here is a fun example, at least I thought it was entertaining. Not all who wander are lost, but I probably am. And yes, sometimes that's true. If I want to give you an example sentence, I could say, we spent the entire afternoon wandering through the narrow streets of the old town.
No, this is why you don't waste 45 minutes wandering around the Valentine's marketplace.
And as we wandered, we picked up new people along the way until we ended up here.
Then there's mumble. This means to speak quietly and in an unclear way, which makes it difficult to understand. Now, often someone is going to mumble and they're dum because they are either tired or annoyed or nervous or shy, and you're not going to be able to understand them that well. And just keep in mind, this is a more descriptive verb than just saying somebody is speaking quietly, because really it's like you can't even make out what they're trying to say. Some common collocations with this verb include to mumble incoherently or to mumble under one's breath. And I think when you use that phrase, it's because you are frustrated and you don't want the other person to hear what you're saying. Maybe your boss tells you to do something and you mumble something under your breath because you don't want your boss to hear. To give you an example, which I think happens, a lot, parents and children, because my parents would say this to me from time to time, stop mumbling and speak up. I can't understand a word you're saying.
I mean, who does that? Does?
What are you mumbling about?
Did you just do that little kid mumble under your breath thing?
Let's move into some descriptive B2 adjectives like forthcoming. So this has a couple of different meanings. It could refer to something happening soon, or if we're talking about a person, someone who is willing to share information or help. So if we're talking about an event in the future, and we want to say it's happening soon, then I could share an example with you and say we are very excited about the forthcoming school events.
We have not heard back yet from France, but we expect their approval to be forthcoming.
You violated federal law when you sent agents onto the reservation. That investigation is forthcoming.
If we're talking about a person, you could say that, well, they're forthcoming and sharing information, but it's also common to say the opposite and say they are not forthcoming and they are not providing information. Either way, we're really talking about communication. So I could give you an example and say the witness was not very forthcoming with details about the accident.
Your tone doesn't inspire me to be very forthcoming.
I'm going to be as forthcoming as I can be, Mr. Anderson.
The next adjective is sharp. I like this word mostly because, I like to think that I'm pretty sharp, even though that is definitely not always the case. But it refers to a person who is intelligent, notices things quickly, and just really thinks fast. And really, you're just complimenting someone's mental state or mental speed. Often, I think it's used when referring to older people, maybe in their 80s or 90s, and you're just surprised and say, wow, they're still really sharp. Keep in mind, we're not talking about sharp like the knife, but really just complimenting somebody's mental intelligence when you say he or she is sharp. There's also an idiom that you can use if you want to add emphasis and say that someone is as sharp as a tack. And in that case, you're saying they are highly intelligent. To give you an example, even though he's in his 90s, my grandfather has an incredibly sharp mind and remembers everything.
Hey, what do you guys think about this Jared? He's shit, right?
No, he's pretty sharp.
She's sharp, but she doesn't know anything.
Oh, no, she's more than sharp. She's a human lie detector.
That is Winston Bishop, who was our new assistant. Tell you what, he's sharp as a tack.
Then there's worthwhile. This refers to something that is useful, important, or just good enough to be a suitable reward for the money or time spent. And often you're going to use it with the structure, it is worthwhile to do something. So this is stronger than just saying something is good. It really implies that there is some effort and you're receiving a benefit. I could say it is worthwhile to watch these lessons, and because you're developing and improving your English and you're getting that value. Here is a fun example. Coffee makes it possible to get out of bed. Chocolate makes it worthwhile. And I think that's true. I love chocolate. To give you another example, I could say investing in a quality projector for your home is only worthwhile if you're going to use it regularly. I came up with this example because we actually got a home projector, and I think it is worthwhile. We will probably use it every weekend or every other weekend, and in that case, I definitely think it's worthwhile.
Boy Scouts of
Boy
America.
Scouts of America.
Yes, it is a worthwhile organization.
Getting a good person out of government is a worthwhile endeavor.
I've been Griffin 30 years. I never got any.
Then why are you doing it?
Seems worthwhile, doesn't it?
Then there's last minute. I think this is an adjective that we can all relate to because it refers to happening at the latest possible time before an event. And there are some common collocations like a last minute change or a last minute decision or even a last minute cancellation. I hate it when airlines make these last minute cancellations. Now you'll notice that when I'm using it as an adjective before the noun, there is a hyphen, a last minute decision. If we're going to say something like, well, the decision was made at the last minute, there's no hyphen, but we're also changing the part of speech. In this case, it's a noun phrase if we're talking about the last minute. Something to keep in mind. One other thing that I will say about this phrase is that even though it could refer to something that is exciting or spontaneous, I think quite often it's used when talking about something that's more stressful or even a lack of preparation. I could say, I made some last minute changes to the presentation. And in that case, it may imply that I wasn't fully prepared or I was unsure of myself, and therefore I made some last minute changes.
You didn't tell me you were coming.
It's a last minute decision.
Obviously.
This morning's budget memo reflects some last-minute changes before our hearing.
Next is self-confident. This refers to feeling sure about your own ability to do things and be successful. Now, quite often, people may use the noun self-confidence, but if we're talking about the adjective self-confident, be careful not to confuse this with arrogant, because even though the meanings may be slightly similar, arrogant definitely has a negative connotation where you think you're better than others, whereas self-confident is more positive, that you just really are sure about your own abilities, and it's generally seen as a good thing if someone is self-confident. I could say, and this is true, living in a foreign country has made me a more independent and self-confident person. And in that case, it really does have a positive connotation.
They're smart, self-confident, and articulate, as we've raised them to be.
Just saying, if you replace Harvard with a nice 22-year-old grad student, your self-confidence will soar.
Now let's turn our attention to some useful B2 adverbs like simultaneously. This refers to something that is happening or being done at exactly the same time. Now it's a longer word, so I want to talk about the pronunciation quickly. Simultaneously. It has 6 syllables. The stress is on that third syllable. Simultaneously. Say it with me. Simultaneously. The other thing I'll point out is that it really has the same meaning as the phrase at the same time. Perhaps it's a little more formal, maybe even more precise, if you say something is happening simultaneously. To give you an example, I could say the software allows you to stream to multiple devices simultaneously at the same time.
Now, this little bastard hacks into anything that's on the digital network. That means every cell phone, satellite, ATM machine, and computer. Simultaneously.
Zen these days. It's simultaneously inspiring and disconcerting.
Then there's the adverb preferably. This is used to indicate that one choice or way of doing something is more desired or liked than others. And often you're going to use this at the beginning of a phrase and then add a condition. And there are some common prepositions that follow this adverb. Maybe you want to do something preferably in some location, or you're asked to submit something preferably by some deadline, or maybe you want something preferably with certain features. So this is really a soft requirement. It's not necessarily mandatory. I could say we were looking for an apartment in Vienna with 3 bedrooms, preferably near a park. This was not a mandatory requirement. It's just something that we wanted.
You're one of those millennials that thinks they can get whatever they want, whenever they want, preferably with free shipping.
What I want is to clear this furniture. Preferably in silence.
Say 3 things. Paid rent, some form of insurance, and TV. Preferably cable with DVR.
Then there's eagerly. This means that you are doing something with a lot of excitement, interest, and enthusiasm because you just want this thing to happen. And there are some common adverb-verb collocations like to eagerly await, or to eagerly anticipate, or maybe even to eagerly accept something. It really does have a positive connotation. You're excited about this, even though you're waiting for it, and you're just looking forward to it, as opposed to feeling anxious or worried. So to give you an example, thinking about students in school, I could say, the students are eagerly awaiting the start of the summer holiday. I know my little girl is eagerly awaiting the summer break.
When Miss Thackeray first asked me to chaperone the girls on this trip, I accepted eagerly.
All his adoring subjects, eagerly awaiting his return.
Willingly. I like this adverb. It means that you are doing something because you want to do it and you're happy to do it and not forced to do it. Once again, there are some common adverb-verb collocations like to willingly accept something, or to willingly participate, or even willingly cooperate. And if I want to say the opposite, I'm going to use the prefix unwillingly. So it does suggest a level of consent and cooperation. Here is a fun meme. I just like the picture of the cat. When you are going to do the dishes willingly, and then your mom tells you to go do them. I think we can all relate to this when we're going to do something willingly, but then somebody tells us, yeah, go do that, and it just feels forced, and you no longer want to do it willingly. To give you another example, many parents willingly contribute their time to support school events. I haven't really done this, to be quite honest. It has not been forced, but I can't say that I have done it willingly. I need to think about that.
Arrest them.
I shall go willingly.
Whatever punishment awaits.
So you see, Master, every man has a price he willingly accepts.
He lives right here in Greendale.
Willingly? Why?
Next is patiently. It is an incredibly important word. It means you are able to wait for a long time and accept difficulties without getting angry or upset. And a very common collocation with this adverb is to wait patiently. Here's an example. I'm waiting patiently. And really, this is a classic adverb of manner, really showing your temperament during an action if you are waiting patiently. You have to wait patiently for the paint to dry before applying a second coat. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really enjoy waiting, so a lot of times I'm not able to wait patiently, and it is something that I don't do willingly. I guess you could say that.
Day after day she hung from her web and waited patiently for an idea to come to her.
Where the bloody hell is
He's
Tommy?
on his way.
Oh, damn, while we're waiting patiently. Whiskey.
And so, after waiting patiently to be relevant again, our heroic narrator steps back into his leading role.
Now, I told you at the very beginning, these are incredibly useful words. Try to listen for them, preferably. Try to actively use them. They're really going to help you get your point across as well as sound more natural. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, you can let me know by hitting that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.